Book connectors. I am not sure of how I feel about this one. I just completed the book Out of the Rain. You know, that's the sequel to The Umbrella Lady. I don't know. Maybe you all can help me. Let's just discuss it. Come on in. Hello, book connectors. Welcome to the Book Connection. Visitors, should you happen upon the channel, feel free to join us. We would love to have you here. Hello, beautiful book connectors. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Blue-Eyed Black Devil, and this time I'm here with a video for the book Out of the Rain, which is the sequel to The Umbrella Lady. And obviously both of them were written by V.C. Andrews. So I've read a few books since I last read The Umbrella Lady. So earlier yesterday I went back and reread the last chapter as well as the epilogue to the book. And I am puzzled as I'll get out. The only thing I am certain of is Saffron's father, Derek, has something. He's just suspect. He was just always suspect to me. But at the end of the book, we learned that Maisie had passed away, and Saffron was there in the house with her when she died, and then Saffron went and got a locked box out of Maisie's closet, and she opened it and she found letters. Most of them were correspondence. Well, they all were letters from Derek, Saffron's father, to Maisie. Now, before Saffron came to live with her, he was keeping Maisie abreast of Saffron's well-being, and I guess a little bit about her daughter Lindsay, that she was made to put up for adoption, that Derek eventually married, despite being raised as her brother, or them being raised as brother and sister. So she takes the train and she goes to where her father lives, Derek lives. She had his address. So that's how she left. Now we are into Out of the Rain. And it picks up, she arrives at her father's house, and it was almost dark when she got there. She took a train, then a cab, and when she got there, he was outside doing something in the garden. He looks up and sees her. At first, he's shocked. Is this really who I think it is? But when he realizes who she is, his wife is calling out to him, asking him who was at the door. I knew when he yelled in there and told this, all right, he would be in a minute. I knew he didn't really want to take the chance of Ava walking out and seeing Saffron standing there. So remember, in those letters to Maisie, he eventually told her that he had another daughter and a baby, a young baby, roughly a year old. But Saffron was the oldest. I think she's like a year, maybe not even a year older than Karen. So the two relationships, Lindsay, who is Saffron's mother, and Ava, who is Karen's mother, those two overlapped somewhere along the way. They're not very far apart in age at all. The only problem is Lindsay knew it, but Ava didn't. Ava never knew about the affair. So, well, she never knew she was the other woman. So, anyway, he hurries and hustles her off to a motel that his wife's family owned. And it was like the plainest room you probably could find. But he called ahead because he told Saffron where to go, gave her the exact directions, and told her he would come for her the next day after they had breakfast and everything. So she gets to the hotel, and the man at the desk was like, yes, your uncle called and said to look out for you. And that was the first blow. Uncle? Why is he uncle? Oh, well, I guess we'll talk about it in the morning. So she goes in the room, and the room was very clean. But it was just plain, like dull colors, and it was already dreary outside, and it was clean. That's all they had going for it. She was so tired that she just laid down. The man at the desk was very friendly and willing to do anything she needed. Of course, I'm imagining some of that was Derek's orders. But either way it goes, he made sure she was settled in, and then we never heard anything else about him. But the next morning, Derek comes, and they go to some place for breakfast. And he did the ordering for the both of them. He did ask her if she liked coffee, and she said she did. So as they're sitting there eating breakfast and getting caught up on their lives, he never really apologized to Saffron for leaving her the way he did, which was at the train station. He left her thinking he was gone to the store and would be back. He never apologized for that in so many words. He did, however, get around to saying that the best he could do at that time was to leave her with Maisie. She found out that Maisie really was her biological grandmother. So then he tells Saffron during breakfast that he's figuring out a way to introduce her into the family. And she was like, why did you tell the hotel clerk or motel clerk that I was your niece? Why am I having to say that you're my uncle? Like, are you ashamed of me? And he was like, no. My wife, her father rules this city, wherever they lived. And, everything, pretty much, he ran the school, the bank, the hotel, whatever it was that where you need contracts or whatever. He was the one with the money. So people felt like they had no choice. If they wanted to maintain a certain lifestyle, they had to adhere to whatever Derek's father-in-law, who is Ava's dad, he was the one that wielded the town with an iron fist, so to speak. And this includes Derek. Derek fell right on in there with the rest of them. It's just that lifestyle. He wasn't going to be able to afford that just on his salary. But anyway, he promised her that if she just gave him one more night, he would somehow see to it that she got, she could move into their home. And he did. He took her, he went and bought her laptop. And so that's what she did that whole day, just get that laptop set up. And she was just looking around, wasn't really seeing anybody, hardly. Well, the day comes, and it looks like Derek has pulled another fast one on Saffron. But that afternoon, I think like 3:15, 4 o'clock, something like that, whenever he got off from work, because he too now works for his wife's father. And so when he got off from work that day, he went and picked Saffron up, and he schooled her as to what was about to go down, which was this. We're going to say that your mother was my sister. We didn't get along in essence, so we haven't spoken in several years. Yes, I knew my sister had a child, but I didn't really know anything else much about her other than her name was Saffron. And this is what she's like, why have I got to do all of this? Because I haven't really found a way of telling Ava about who you are yet. Now, if I was Saffron, I would be sitting there thinking, you mean to tell me the whole 3.5 to 4 years I was out of your life physically and probably emotionally too, you could not bring yourself to open up to your wife and tell her that she had that you had a child before they were married or whatever? And then I sometimes wonder if he didn't say it, if he didn't come clean to Ava, because he knew how powerful her father was and he could ruin him in a sense. I don't know what his reasoning was, but Saffron was introduced into the Saddlebrook mansion or family because, Saffron and her father's last name is what is it? Anders. Yeah, Anders. Derek Anders and Saffron Anders. He introduced her to Ava and Karen. Now, Ava was a very stern and firm, no nonsense, no any kind of way. She kind of was like sizing Saffron up and down. Now, right off the bat, once he introduces Saffron as his niece, Karen just pops right in because, like I said, they're right around the same age. But her only concern was for her social life. I want to go to a party. Saffron's not invited. I can get you in with the cool crowd, basically. She was just a teenager who was self-absorbed or self-obsessed. And she tried to be very possessive as well of other people. But, they could... She's real dingy. Almost sounded like she just had no feeling for anybody. And I'm like, I know if my mom had just came in and told somebody that I was someone that I'm not, once the shock wore off, I would have been like, how in the world are you asking me about a party or if I like boys? And I just told you, I don't know who I am in your life or you in mine. But she was a teenager. Karen also had a secret. She was a bit of an alcoholic. She, was sipping, or so she thought, wherever it was, she could. She just stayed somewhere. Getting drunk. She did end up going to a school party. But one of the guys ended up overdosing on alcohol. He didn't pass away or anything, but his mother was livid when she found out what had happened. So she did the right thing. She called all of the parents, because this was a very small town. Basically, everyone knew each other. So when Ava received the phone call the next day, she told them that they weren't going to be allowed to have any sleepovers. They were not sleeping over anywhere, and they would not be going to any parties. Well, that was just like giving Karen a death sentence. Although Saffron herself, she didn't drink or do anything at the party, because she didn't know the people all that well. But this black guy named Tommy, he liked her, and she liked him. And so at some football game or something was going on, no, it was a party. Because Karen, that's that party where their friend got too drunk. And Tommy noticed that Saffron wasn't drinking or partaking in anything. He wasn't either. His eyes were only for Saffron. So they ended up kissing at some event. And that was the very first time she had ever been kissed. And she was so excited and feeling good. But she did make sure not to let Karen see them kiss, because she didn't know what she would do with how that information would be processed on top of the alcohol. And she didn't ever find out, to our knowledge, about the kiss. But there was this one girl apparently Karen was cool with, but by the time Saffron moved in, this girl, her name was Melina. Melina and Karen had some sort of a slight diss, and so they were on the outs with one another. But Melina was Tommy's best female friend. So she bonded, Saffron did, she bonded more so with Melina than she did, than Melina did with Karen. All right, we get past all the high school antics. Eventually, Ava, while they are on punishment, they were going to go have dinner at her father's house. Her father's name was Amos Saddlebrook. And like I said, he was the man about town. I guess he built and ran the town. Well, we know he ran it. But anyway, this was going to be Saffron's first time. She'd heard about him through both of them. And let me say something about Ava before I go on. Right from the jump, she always seemed to be highly critical of Karen. She just felt like because Karen was a good stock, so to speak, meaning money, that a lot of things that Karen does should be beneath her, like running around wild parties or getting drunk or, whatever. She's supposed to just be classy like Ava was. So eventually they go to her father's house, and Karen is telling Saffron what to expect along the way. So they got there, because now Ava did say that her father, Amos, and her husband, Derek, both spoiled Saffron rotten. And, I kind of got the impression that she was envious of her relationship with both of the men, that otherwise would be close. Now, it is said that Ava and her father weren't necessarily very close, but they both had keen eyes and good heads on their shoulders. She was a chip off the old block. All right, now, we're getting down finally too close to the end, and it's all going to be unraveled here in just a few minutes. One time, Ava's baby, his name was Garson. Garson was the name of one of the school secretaries or something in the Umbrella Lady. But anyway, Ava and Derek had a son, which he wrote in a letter and told Maisie, about the new baby or whatnot. He just kept stringing her along about coming to get Saffron, but we see that never happened. All right, so the baby got sick one day, and Derek, he used to go in behind Karen and Ava and tell Saffron, look, you need to say this, or we need, just hold tight. It won't be long. Just keep calling me uncle for just a little bit longer. It'll all work out. You'll see. You'll see. So, Ava, she just felt more related to Saffron than she did her own daughter. But this is just what we know. Saffron seems to think, yeah, she doesn't appear outwardly not to like me, but I think Saffron felt more tolerated than wanted or loved by Ava initially. But as time goes on, especially when Carrie came home drunk that night, and she went and questioned Ava when they questioned Saffron. And Saffron was like, well, I didn't drink any, and I was not really around her the whole while, so I don't basically know what she had. But Karen, when they came home from that party, Karen didn't bother. Well, put it this way, Derek had to tell her to go say goodnight to her mom. And she, I guess, went, but Ava knew she wasn't going to get anything out of Karen. So she tried to get it out of Saffron. All right, this goes on back and forth. So at the grandfather's house, Karen is giving Saffron, I'll call it like a mini tour through the mansion. It described, the house as being very large. It had like its own ballroom, had a basketball court, whatever people have in their mansions. They had that. They had a carriage house in the back, and this, that, and the other. And other than Amos Saddlebrook, the only other people who lived there were, I guess they are servants. He had a cook, a housekeeper, butler, chauffeur, and I think it was 6 bedrooms. One of the bedrooms was the bedroom Ava slept in all of her life. And whenever she moved out, nothing was changed about that room. The only thing they did was, go in and dust and tidy it up every day. But there was another room that was there. Oh, Karen. Karen had a bedroom she used when she would come as a younger child, like up until around 8 or 9. She would come to spend the weekend or spend the night or whatever. So she had a room, but neither one of those rooms were ever slept in after, they left. So they get through the dinner. Everything is going okay. Then Amos asked not Saffron, he asked Lindsay, what is her name? He asked Ava and Derek if he could just talk to Saffron by herself. He didn't want them in other words, you all go on, go your merry way. I will see to it that Saffron gets home. I just want to talk to her a little bit. I just want to touch bases with her. I'm not going to ask her anything you all probably have not asked her. I am just impressed because Maisie had grown Sapphire. By right, she was only like 13 when she moved there, but she conducted herself as if she was like 25 or 30. You'd be hard pressed. She probably had better conversation or felt better around adults. That's what happens when you're not around kids your own age. Okay, so he just wanted to talk. And against their better judgment, they did go ahead and leave. And when Amos got through talking to her, and basically he did keep it light. So I hear you're an honor student, and I hear you got a boyfriend on the basketball team, and all this stuff, and you came here. Do you know anything about your mother? She told her the same thing that Derek had told Ava. Okay, so she goes home. Now, days later, baby Garson is sick. He just had a fever, and he's teething, and nothing Ava and Derek did could soothe him. So they took him to the doctor one day, and they put him on an antibiotic, and I don't know, a few days later, they had to take him back to the doctor for a follow-up to see, if anything was improving. So Karen went to school that morning, but Derek had come in sometime that night into Saffron's bedroom and told her, I need you to play like you're sick. I don't need you to be out and about tomorrow. Well, that was the high school football game, and they had made it to the playoffs, and Karen was just over the moon with planning the party and what she was going to wear, who all she was going to invite on her side, and whatever goes along with all of that. Oh, she was so excited. But the next morning, when she came to Saffron's room, Saffron told her, that she didn't feel good. She thinks it's a stomach bug or whatever. So Karen goes on about her school. She's not too bothered by Saffron anyway. Then, a few hours later, Ava comes and tells her that she's going to take Garson back to the doctor for a follow-up, and she told her that the nanny was there for Garson, and that Derek was going to meet her at the doctor's office. Saffron was just thinking, okay, he knows Karen is wherever she is, and he knows that the baby's sick, but I wonder if he ever, because he called to check on the baby before it was time for the doctor's appointment, and Saffron was like, he never asked how I'm doing or if I'm okay. He doesn't do any of that. And I don't know if Ava sensed that's what Saffron was thinking, or she just genuinely stepped back because she was going on out. She was like, Celeste, I think that's the nanny's name. Celeste is here. But she actually did, Ava asked her, how you feeling? She said, I'm not as bad as I was, but I'm still kind of weak. And so she said, well, don't worry about anything. I'll just fix you something tonight. When I get back, she says, okay. So she goes, takes him to the doctor, comes back. The baby's good. He's gotten a better report. He's actually starting to smile now. He's not crying as much. He's not making faces, but he is teething. All right, this big football playoff party that they were having, Saffron knew she could not attend, but the Ava and Derek agreed to be chaperones at this party. Now, I forgot to tell you this a while ago. After the big meeting with Amos Saddlebrook, Derek goes and talks to Ava and I guess his father-in-law Amos and says, why don't we adopt Saffron into the family so that she could be a Saddlebrook and she would be entitled to everything else. I don't think Karen or Ava was too particular about that, but Karen was over the moon once she found out that they could have a party to celebrate her being adopted into the family. Well, now, we'll go on back to Ava. Ava and Derek decided that they would be chaperones at the high school football party. So, Saffron is still sick, right? So she goes downstairs, and Celeste was in there with Garson. And she's just going back and forth to the baby. And then Saffron was like, do you ever miss being from your home country? And, the lady was like, yeah, I do. I'm really happy here, but I miss my family. I have 2 older sisters who are both married, and they have 3 children apiece. And I'm not married. I'm over here. But, I like the United States. I do get homesick from time to time, in essence. So they talk a little about France. She was from somewhere in France. And so she was asking Saffron if she spoke any French, and whatever it was, Saffron did know she said it. And so the nanny was thrilled to hear even that much. Okay, she says, oops, I'm going to have to go upstairs and get his teething ring. Miss Ava forgot to bring it to me before they left for the party. Saffron was like, I'll get it. Where is it? And she says it's in her room on her vanity table. She told me she left it on her vanity table. So Saffron goes to the vanity table, and she sees all sorts of jewelry just kind of scattered around on the table. She had clothes everywhere because she probably kept changing her mind about what she was going to wear. But either way, Saffron picks up a watch, and she looks at it, she holds it, and then something just was getting right under her skin about this watch in particular. She knew what it was. But she looked at the shape of the face of the watch. It was a triangular face, and there was a small diamond between each number, like from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, like that. It was just diamonds all the way around. She's still looking and looking and looking. What is so familiar? Why do I feel like I've seen this watch before? She flipped it over, and she sees engraved into the watch, Love D. Her daddy, Derek, had gotten that watch for her mother, Saffron's mother, Lindsay. Now remember, Lindsay perished in a fire. So she goes downstairs, gives Celeste the teething ring. She goes back upstairs because when she was at Amos Saddlebrook house after Karen, Ava, and Derek left that day, he gave her his chauffeur's number. And the chauffeur knew that when and or if Saffron, why am I so reluctant or hesitant? Her name is Saffron. Saffron. Whenever Saffron called, he was to go wherever she was and get her. So she called him. He came and got her, took her back to the Saddlebrook mansion. They get there and Amos is standing in the door waiting on them. So they go into the office. This visit was nothing like the first one. They go in and take a seat, and he was like, I heard you wasn't feeling too well. She said, you know that's not true. She had bought this bag along with her, and so they were sitting there talking. Ooh, y'all. This is what confused me. Now, in the letter that Derek wrote to Maisie, one of the last letters he wrote to her, he alluded to the fact that he was, he thought it would be best for Saffron to stay where he was. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I highly doubt it. Just keep it in mind, all of the incest and all that other stuff I talked about in her books. But I believe that Lindsay and Ava are sisters. I really do believe it. Now, we know that Maisie had been married to a man and that he had passed away some years before Saffron even entered Maisie's picture. And the reason I feel like Lindsay and Ava are sisters is because he, according to Saffron now, Amos knew darn well how and why her mother died. Well, she knew it. He knew how she died. Well, you say, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure Derek did say his wife died in the fire, but he knew it because he kept playing it. See, he didn't really care for Derek, but Ava loved him. And then they messed around and got pregnant with Karen out of wedlock. And so if he wanted to stay in that town and be in the good graces of his family with all of their wealth, he was going to have to do some things. And unfortunately, Lindsay and Saffron paid the price. That's what I honestly believe. This man had her to do away with his wife, his first wife. And then when that happened, Derek and Ava were married. See, in the letters, Derek kept telling Maisie that he was planning to get married to this lady, who they didn't call name, but he was going to marry this lady. She just had his baby, and he's still trying to break the ice. He even went so far in one letter to say that when he got his nerves up to tell her that he had an older daughter, she miscarried. So the next go around, they decided to wait until after the baby was born and everything was okay. Now, I don't know if that was why, but I just felt like that was just another way of him stringing her along. So either way it goes, I believe Amos told Derek, if you're going to be in this family, you're going to right your wrong. You're going to correct the sin by marrying my daughter. Because really and truly, Ava ran her household the same way her daddy ran hers. So when Saffron confronts him with all of this, he didn't deny any of it. But he told her, look, you have, in essence, you have nothing but the greatest opportunity. You can go to school. You have a great head on your shoulders as is. I'm sure you would thrive wherever you choose to go. But now if you want to stay in the family, you have to take everything that comes with that, in essence. So when she said, you knew what he did. You knew he was wrong. And you were part of the one that planned. You were with him that planned it. Like I said, Amos didn't deny any of that. The meeting ended. He told her, you're a very young lady, very bright young lady. I would love for you to be in the family. Ava has absolutely, positively no idea that any of this happened. And that's the way I needed to stay, because it would do her far more harm than good. She and I are basically alike. But I don't think she would be able to come back if she found out that Derek had a child before she got pregnant by him. Ava was an only child, just like Saffron. But I believe, and this is what I need you all to help me with, book, knowing that Amos helped plot the fire that took Lindsay's life, just so he would be free to marry his daughter, Ava. This is what I believe, but I just feel like another reason was it's possible that I really do feel like Amos and Lindsay are father and daughter, or Lindsay and Ava are blood sisters through Amos. This is the conclusion I come to, which also happens to be the end of the book. Now, to me, I hope there's going to be another book to this, because this is more or less a cliffhanger. Amos told Saffron as she got in the car to go home, he was like, look, you can either go left or right. And Tyson, that was the name of the driver, Tyson can take you anywhere you want to go. If you want to go to the train station, bus station, even to the airport, it's your call. Or you can basically keep your darn mouth shut and ride this gravy train on out. So they get in the car, and she didn't say anything. He wasn't talking either. The driver wasn't. And then Saffron was like, do you have an umbrella? And he was like, yeah. It's right here on the seat next to me. She said, can I see it? He was like, why? It's not raining. She said, can I just see it? So he gave it to her. She sat back, and when they got to where you turn off right or left, she was like, if I go right, that means I'm going home, or I have accepted my place in the Saddlebrook family. But if I go left, I'll go back into a world of uncertainty where I am the only one I know. So she chose to go right. And I guess that would be a choice that, I just speak for myself. I don't know that I would have gone left either. But I probably would be my own downfall, because some of this lying has got to stop. Somebody has got to be up front and clean this mess up. All of the money in the world does not entitle you to mess up people's lives. And then Derek, you should be, I forgot about that. When Derek and Lindsay were married, Derek was an insurance adjuster. That came up when Saffron was confronting Amos. What, did he write another insurance policy out on Garson? He used to do that, He used to sell insurance for a living and blah, 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 blah. So I think that I think in that sense, Derek and Amos used each other. Derek used his expertise into knowing how to go about if a fire were to start. He could tell by being an insurance adjuster what caused it, and if any charges can be brought against said people or person, or if it was just an accident. Because that fire was started, someone supposedly turned the stove on, left it on, and it was suspected that Lindsay did it. But knowing what I know now, Derek might have gone in there after he knew they were all in their rooms and did that. Because why else, when he did show up to Saffron's room, why was he all the way dressed and carrying her clothes and just so happened to have a brand new backpack at the bottom of the staircase when he grabbed his briefcase and carried Saffron out of the house? I don't know. But yeah, I forgot. Saffron did confront him about that. He neither denied or confirmed it. And sometimes that's the worst way to be. So hopefully there's going to be another book to this, because I know all books are not going to be wrapped up in tidy, pretty little bows. But I just have way more questions than I do answers. But this concludes this series for now. Hopefully there's another one. I checked before. Book connectors, please excuse this faux pas. I don't know what's going on with my recordings as of late. But all I was trying to do was to tell you that I have concluded reading both books, both Out of the Rain, which is a sequel to The Umbrella Lady by V.C. Andrews. And now, subscribers, thank you so much for being subscribed. Visitors, the door is always open. And have I asked you all lately to like, share, comment respectfully? If I haven't, please do so. And I have another request. I have created another channel here on YouTube, and it's called Ms. Music, capital M, lowercase z, capital M-U-Z, again, I-K. And I'm found here on YouTube. Like I just said, please feel free to go over and check that channel out as well. Feel free to subscribe. That channel is going to be all things music, which is good because this channel and that channel will overlap at times, since I do read books about musicians and artists. So go check that channel out. Please, 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 and feel free to subscribe and share as well. And then please, everyone, make sure your notification bells are not only set to on, I need them to also be set to all on both channels, please. That way you'll know every time I upload a video. But now, book connectors, remember this. As long as there are books around, there is always something to read. And until we read again, book connectors, be safe out there. Don't forget to check out my Ms. Music channel here on YouTube. And have a wonderful day. Be blessed. God bless you. Bye for now.